Cesar, the crowd pleaser. If you need to pick me up, ladies, we gon' change your demeanor. Caesar, the crowd pleaser. We gon' do a little dance, we gon' make the naysayers believe us. Hey girl, had a long day, you tired from work. Throw me some dollars and I remove my shirt. You can touch me too, these are the perks. Free yourself, lose your mind and go berserk, and go berserk, and go berserk, and go berserk.
Make way for the bad guy.
What is up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Crowd Pleaser, the podcast that brings you the inside scoop on what it takes to be a male entertainer in today's age. I'm your host, Cesar the Crowd Pleaser, and this is going to be episode 47. We are creeping up on the 2-year mark, and I'm going to do something a little different this time. So today's episode is going to be Stripagram stories. And so instead of having everyone on the show at the same time, I ended up interviewing guys individually and asking them to record some of their best and worst Stripagram stories and send them to me. Or I recorded them, like I said, and we then spliced it together and edited some post-production for this podcast. So I hope you guys enjoy listening to it and laugh and cry and oh my god a couple of times. I would have loved to get a lot more guys on here, but maybe if your feedback and you really like this kind of show, we'll do some more in the future. All right, cool. But a little bit of housekeeping. Just want to thank my patrons out there. Patreon.com/crowdpleaser. This is where you can kind of give back to the show and help me continue to produce all the various content that I do. You can pledge as little as $1 a show and as much as you want. You can quit anytime. There's no commitment. And you get all kinds of neat perks and stuff. And it really just kind of helps me know I'm going down the right path, as well as having the funds to continue projects and maybe dabble into other things and whatnot, because all of this is at the very least extremely time consuming, which I don't mind doing because I enjoy it. Today's Patreon will be Stacy Williams. Stacy, you rock. Thank you so much for constantly supporting the show and all the things I do. You all are very important to me, so thank you once again. Next is LeBear Dallas. This is where I work 5 nights a week, Wednesday to Sunday night. We have every kind of festival or festive occasion prepped for you guys, including our international strip off that is coming up November 16th, where we're going to have guys from various clubs coming in and competing. I have my new Tarzan act that I am debuting tonight, or that night, to try and take it down. So definitely check it out. Next is my New Year's Eve party at LeBear Dallas, where I'm going to be having a battle of the sexes, where I brought in a bunch of female entertainment, both strippers and aerialists and fire performers and burlesque, you name it. I've brought them in, and it's going to be a place couples friendly. The cover is going to be standard for both male and female. You guys can come out, reserve tables, get your tickets online. I'll have the link in the show notes, and you guys can definitely have a good time. Like I updated the champagne list, and we're gonna have balloon drop, and the entertainment is gonna be absolutely phenomenal. So you won't want to miss out. Cool. Well, that's pretty much everything, and I already kind of gave you the lowdown on the show. So up until then, I hope you enjoy it.
All right, so it was. I was still very fresh. I wasn't even a year into the game. I had already done maybe like 10 stripagrams. You know, I'm not rook, but at the same time, I'm still young and green. And Kenny calls me, and he says, "Hey, I need you to do a party on the south side of San Antonio, dressed as a cop." Okay, so for people that don't know, the south side of San Antonio is predominantly Hispanic people. So I go to this party, and I call the lady when I get there. First time I've talked to the lady. So she answers, and she speaks English. And she comes up she's like, "Oh, are you outside?" And I'm like, "Yes, ma'am." So she comes outside, and it's her and 2 other girls. And they tell me it's a bachelorette party, that the bachelorette's inside. And they tell me all these things. And then at the very end, they say, "Hey, by the way, there's only 3 of us that speak English. And it's the 3 that are outside." And I say, "Okay, well, I need y'all to do me a favor and stay close by in case something bad happens." And they're like, "Oh, no problem, no problem." So I'm like, "Okay, let's go inside." I come inside, and the bachelorette looks scared. Like, I guess she thought I was a real cop or something, I don't know. But she was scared out of her wits. And then so I start dancing. I start taking off my clothes. and I'm dancing to like reggaeton, a little Latin beat, and all of a sudden I take her hand and I put it on my chest, and as I do, she just starts bawling. I'm not saying just a little cry. I mean, she is bawling, and she's yelling in Spanish, and I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? What's going on? So then, me being who I am, because the lady that spoke English, she dipped out to the back to get the money, and so me being me, I just start working the room, waiting for her to get back so I could see what's going on. Well, finally she gets back. She talks to the Bachelorette, which is her sister, and she tells me, oh, she's just real. One, she's real shy. Two, she feels like this is cheating on her husband. So she's in a bad spot. And I'm like, okay, what do you want me to do, man? You paid for me, and I at least want to do a decent job. And she's like, okay, just dance on a few other women. So I dance for a few other women, and this bride just keeps crying. So finally, I finish one last song, and I'm like, okay, that's it. I pick up my like $20 in tip, and I get my money, and I walk out. And as I'm walking out, all I hear saying is, I'm a cheater in Spanish. I'm a cheater in Spanish. And I just like felt so shitty about myself. So I apologized to her, and I tried talking to her, and she was just not having it. She was hysterical. So I go outside, and the sister comes out, and she's like, here's a little bit of extra money. I'm so sorry about this. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And I just got to the club, and I tried to dance for the rest of the night, and all I kept picturing was a crying bride at the edge of my stage. Like, it was just embedded in my head. I was like, fuck me. Oh, my bad. I forgot we can't cuss. And I'm like, oh, God, it's just embedded in my head, and I feel so terrible. So for the rest of the night, like, I'm just kind of, like, shy. I'm at the back of the stage, not doing anything. And the sister, the Bachelorette, comes in at like the very end of the night, and she tells me that her sister told her future husband about it, and he laughed it all off. So that kind of made me feel better. And then the sister got a VIP, and it just made my night it made my night all better, thank God. But I mean, for the whole night, like, I was just traumatized. And then the next time I did a stripagram, I called the lady like an hour. I was like, hey, can you give me the lady's number like 2 hours in advance? And I called her, and I was like, hey, look, I'm just warning you, this is what happened at my last stripagram. And she was like, oh, no, we'll be fine. These ladies are crazy. But it, like, from then on, like, every stripagram I did, there was always a little bit of caution in the back of my head, or like, how is this bride going to react? But yeah, that was by far my worst one, because like, I thought, because every time I said I had something wild and crazy, there was always a guy in the locker room to top it. And I was like, okay. And then when I told that story, I was waiting for someone to be like, oh yeah, that's happened to me. And of course, all the dickhead guys were like, oh bro, that fucking sucks for you. I've never had a cry. And I'm like, what the hell? Or a woman cry. And I'm like, what the hell, man? Like, I'm like, God damn. I feel like a dickhead now. And she man, that was definitely my worst one ever by far.
Yeah, because you feel like you ruined a special moment for him,
Yeah, it's exactly that. Like, you wouldn't want to have a bachelor party and have something go wrong, like the entertainer like fall over and she breaks her leg. Like, that would just ruin your moment. But that thing was, I had really no control over it. It just, as soon as the music started, I was screwed. You know what I'm saying? So it was definitely a different kind of thing. Definitely like I said, like, even if I were to do a stripagram tomorrow, I would still have that somewhere in the back of my head, and it would always replay. But at the same time, at least I found out it had a happy ending. Could have gone a lot worse. Like, what about if she would have called her future husband and he would have been furious?
Yeah, for sure. And hey, the good karma paid you forward, because then you found out, like you said, it ended up not being all for naught. Like, not only did it end up not being as bad as you thought it was going to be, you also essentially kind of won somebody over after the fact,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, and at the end of the day, I don't know about you. Like, yeah, of course it's a business, so we make our money. But at the end of the day, events like that, I try to do the utmost, because, you know, a lot of those women will never have a moment like that again. So to me, those are where I excel. Like, I know a lot of guys that are like, oh yeah, I just go in and I just do this and do that, and I'm like, man, you're doing such basic stuff. Like, I understand you don't want to do, like, you don't have to do the utmost, but at the same time, you should want to do at least one thing that 10 years after this, they're like, oh yeah, I remember that. That was a good night. So that's what I always try to bring into a stripagram. You know,
So
most.
so that
Go
was
ahead.
one of your most awkward. What was one of your best ones?
One of my best ones.
Or most
I want to
frightening
say,
ones, either or.
I could get you on two stories with both of those. So I want to say the best one I did was this last one I did. It was right after I had left Hard Bodies to try to pursue going back to the real job world, and also, you know, I still like to do this on the side. So if anyone ever wants to hit me up or book me, I'm more than welcome to do that, because I enjoy it. I have fun. But it was definitely the last one I did. Kenny calls me up, and he needed a guy to drive to Fredericksburg. Yeah, Fredericksburg, for this last minute bachelorette party. So of course I take it up. You know, it's a good money. I don't have anything to do that night. It's not too far from where I'm at in San Marcos, so I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I as I'm getting ready, he gives me all the numbers and all that, and they text me. You know, usually they want cop or something like that, but they wanted a cowboy. I was like, oh, this is perfect. I was like, I got my duster, I got my leather vest, I got my jeans and my cowboy boots, cowboy hat. Let's do this. I'm ready to do it. And I drive up. Takes about an hour to drive there, which isn't bad. I pull in. A lady comes out, or three ladies come out once again. So it's funny there. It's like they always want to come out and pack the three, but I understand that. And they come out, and they like my getup, they like my everything, and then they were like, "Hey, can we ask you for one other favor?" And whenever I hear that, I'm always a little skeptical, but I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And they're like, "Hey, can you put on this panda head?" And they hand me a fuzzy panda head, like something that you would see out of like a music video or something funny. And I'm like, "Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I can do that. That's no big deal." So I walk in with the panda head, and this is like a little townhouse kind of thing, and it is just jam packed of women, but it's women of all different ages. Like, it's not just like a group of young women that are celebrating. It's like the mother of the bride. I think it was the grandmother of the bride was there too. The aunts of the bride. Believe it or not, the mother of the groom was there, and she was probably one of the more wild people. But I walk in with Panda Head, and the Bachelorette starts laughing. Apparently there was a joke about the Panda Head, but two, she starts laughing because she thought that they got one of the neighbor guys to dress up for it and do a stripper thing. And then when I took off she didn't know that there was like any real entertainers in the area. And so I take off my hat, and she's like, "That's not one of the neighbors. That's not one of the..." Like, she wasn't freaking out, but she was just so like shocked and surprised. So I start dancing for her. I mean, this is just a good party. They're tipping well. They're not too handsy. They're not aggressive. They're just having a good time. They're playing. I tell them, they ask me what music I want. I said, "You play whatever you want," and they're just having fun. Just if you were to design a perfect stripagram, that would be it. Like, they're not, like I said, not too handsy. They're having fun with each other. They're keeping each other entertained while you're moving around the room. No girls like, "Oh my God," and freaking out. Like, they're all just, "Oh yeah," like having a great time. And it would just makes you happy. Like, I only point, I always stay for the tips, or until they stop tipping, because that's how we were taught. And like I said, they kept tipping, so I kept going. But they were just, even if they would have stopped, I probably would have given them an extra 2 or 3 songs, because they were just enjoying themselves. And I know for a fact, like, they're going to talk about it. I still get a text from the lady that booked it it seems like every other 2 months, that says, "Hey, we were just talking about that event, and they were telling me that I think they're going to book me for another party here in the summer, because one of the other ones are getting married." So it's just, those are the parties that you really like to do, and they knew a few of them had already had male entertainers come out, so they knew the ritual, they knew everything. You don't have to fight with them, you don't have to argue, you just get in there and have fun, and that's how it should be all the time. And it was just a good time. Probably, like I said, one of my more favorite ones, other than probably my first one ever, which was out in Canyon Lake with a group of young women who the only thing that they kept trying to do that I thought was wrong was they kept trying to get me to drink, and I told them no, I still got an hour drive back to Hard Bodies. But they were group parties like that, and you've been around, you've done good stripagrams. I know you have. I hear legends of you, so you know how it is. When you get a party like that that's just fun and willing to have a good time, they're the best.
Yeah, it just makes it that much more fun for everyone involved because you're feeding off their vibe, they're feeding off of yours.
Right. Yes, sir. You know it, man. It's just it's when you can just vibe out and be yourself and enjoy the job, then that's always the best. It's when you have to kind of pretend to be something else, or when you have to be like put on your serious face and and be like, hey, look, this is how it's gonna go down. Then it's like, okay, now it's strictly a job.
Yeah.
And it's about that at the end of the day, but at the same time, if you can have fun while doing your job, that's the key to anything.
Yeah, then
that's
not
the key to
a day in your life.
Exactly. So that was by far my best one, was probably my last one. Plus I had the confidence. When, like I said, that first one was really good, but I didn't have the same confidence that I did with his last one. Like, by the time you get some under your belt, you know what works, what doesn't work, what you can pull off, what you can't pull off, things like that. So those are always the best. Now, as far as my scariest one wasn't even anything that happened at the party. It was getting to the party and getting through the party. So like my scariest one was, once again, it was a party on the deep south side of San Antonio, like I was going towards Corpus Christi, and it was a last-minute Sunday thing, and I usually don't like to do stripagrams on Sunday, especially last-minute ones, because I don't think they're very beneficial. But I took it. I was like, okay, it's a Sunday. I just need to make some money and go home. But then they're like, oh yeah, they want a cop. Here's the address. All this. So I see the address, and I'm not shook because I've done a good amount of parties on that one, on that address, or that side of town. But as I get there and I drive up, and I'm wearing like a pretty good cop deal. I'm wearing like cop issue, a pair of pants that look cop issued. I'm wearing the actual like cop shirt, and then I got a tactical vest. Okay. And as I pull up, I see a barbecue happening. And I'm not trying to be a punk or anything, but as I'm pulling up on this barbecue, I'm guessing this neighborhood is a very tight grouping. Like they might all be friends or family friends, because at this barbecue is I'm guessing everyone that lives in that area. Because as soon as they saw my truck pulling up, they stopped what they were doing and they started staring at my truck. And it's not like a barbecue, like where you see a barbecue pit. It's like they are barbecuing over an open flame. And they just, like I said, they just keep staring at me. And I get out of my vehicle and I hear them say, is that a cop? And I see, and like I said, they keep staring at me. And then so I go to the address of the house and I knock, and it's across the way of this barbecue. And I knock on the door, and a gentleman opens up the door, an older gentleman, like probably 70s, 80s, and he doesn't speak any English, and all he keeps yelling is, not here. And I'm like, okay. So finally he closes the door, and I'm like, maybe this is a dud. So I walked back to my truck because I left my phone in the truck, and I was like, okay, I'll call him. And I walked back to my truck to call him, and one of the guys from the barbecue literally slides up on me. Like, I didn't even see him walk over, and he was by my truck when I got to the door. And he was like, "Hey, bro," he was like, "It's around." He's like, "It's that house that you were at, but it's around the back. The ladies are around the back. It's my sister. Yeah, they didn't. They left their phone died, so they've been waiting if you were gonna not show up because they couldn't reach you." I was like, "Oh, okay." And I was like so freaked out because, like I said, I'm dressed up as a wannabe cop, so you know how that is. A lot of times, even cops don't like that. They'll pull you over if they see you dressed up.
Oh
So
yeah, without a doubt.
yeah. So I was very paranoid, and like I said, the dude snuck up on me while I was grabbing my phone. Like, I know he didn't do it on purpose now, but at that point in time, I didn't know what was going on. So I was kind of like caught off guard. But then I ended up doing that party, and it wasn't a bad party, except I sweated so goddamn much because one, I just had gotten over being nervous, and two, they did it outside. Like, I did it out on a back patio in the Texas heat during the summer, and I was just boiling. I was boiling, and but it was, once again, it's just another life lesson, another event that you can benefit from because it's something different. That's what I think that was another thing I kind of liked about stripagrams because you never know what you're getting, and so it kept you kind of on your toes, and you got to do it a certain way. You didn't have to you play by a certain rules, but at the same time, as long as you follow the guidelines and you're not being sleazy or doing nothing bad, then you can move those like certain things around. Like, at the club, you're not allowed to pick up women and spin them around. But at a private party, as long as you know you can do it and you can do it in a safe environment, have fun. So that was always my thing. I kind of liked it because I got to adapt and play around. And
Yeah.
that's when I feel like I'm at my best.
The biggest stripogram I ever did was for American Airlines. It was at a training center, and there was 550 people there. So I went up on stage. I had two of my ladies that did stripograms, and myself. And so they put like four girls on the stage, and we backed their chairs up with four guys. So my two girls danced for the guys, and I danced for the girls. But I did the whole cowboy skit over the microphone, like live to 550 people. It was pretty crazy. So we were actually up on a stage where the band played, and they cleared the middle of it, and they put four chairs back to back up there. And then I took the main girl in the middle, pulled her out, and I did the cowboy skit. The place was just falling apart. Because there's, all the interaction with the cowboy skit. Hey, I hear you're a little Philly. You were a big bad stallion right around the back 40. You like to ride slow and easy, hard and fast. So, with a big crowd like that, you have to speak real clearly, and people tend to get excited. So you actually want to slow it down a little bit so they can hear it. But that was the biggest crowd that I'd ever done one for. It was pretty neat. The girls were really nervous. I just told them, like, just pull it in, don't worry about the big crowd, just focus on the people right in front of you, and it'll kind of come to you. But I mean, they were both experienced. It's just when you get crowds that big, I mean, it's just crazy.
I
Um,
believe it.
I don't know what my relationship was or who exactly, uh, like, but at Southwest Airlines, I started the Stripagram company in November of 1989, and we just had a really good relationship with Southwest Airlines. So Southwest Airlines just had our people out. I mean, to their main center on Love Field, where like the owner would be in there sometimes, everybody. So I guess because they're a real fun company, you know what I mean? They like to keep things light and fun. We were out there many, many, many times. So when when you are taking your product and putting it into such an associated company, it gives you a lot of status. So, uh, two of the weird. Those are good stories. Two of the kind of unusual, not so good stories is I was dancing at a restaurant called Dick's Last Resort, and we for the first 7 years they were open, they offered my company all inclusive. So in other words, they sold a package through Dick's Last Resort, which involved a male or female stripper. So they actually sold that themselves. I had as many as 6 people there at one time. That was just they did tons of bachelorette parties down there, and it was in the same area where the one is now in Dallas. It was just a little more north, but so I went in there and it was a group of girls, bachelorette party, but the bachelorette was really, really drunk. And you can just tell I had a lot of experience. So I put her in the middle. I had like 5 or 6 girls up there and had the chairs kind of in kind of a semi half circle, but with her right in the middle. And so down there, you either took their microphone and put it in your briefcase and played your speakers, your music through their PA,
Mm-hmm.
or the band would play a song for you. I didn't have a preference either one. I liked them both. The band kept it real live, you know what I mean, with interactions with the crowd and everything. And I don't know, I can't remember this guy. Oh, he goes by. Do you know the band down there that's called Big Daddy Band?
No, can't
And
say I do.
he was just real known. So he was down there a lot. So him and I had a good relationship. So if it was ever him, I always had him play the music. So this time I'd like put the microphone in my briefcase and I'd start the music and I was just dancing around like the first 60 seconds. And the girl, she's like wagging like this. So, couldn't even sit up. Her girlfriends were kind of holding her. So I was keeping a pretty close eye on her because you can tell when somebody's fixing up shut. So I was keeping a close eye on her. And then I started dancing. I was spinning in a circle, but I was really watching her. And she bent her head back like that, and she came forward, and she just threw up. I mean, just a projectile. And
Oh wow.
I came out of the spin to spread my legs, and it just went like kind of jumped out of the spin, and it just went right between my legs on the floor. So man, I've seen it all. It's pretty funny. Those are some of the crazy ones. I mean, I could go on for hours. And we get to thinking about it. I mean, so many different things happen.
What was the what was the one that kind of had you, I guess, worried or like nervous the whole time? Like if it was a place where
That's
everyone's kind of,
really very one specific one. We had a list in the office of where we didn't go, like clubs and apartments in areas of town that were too rough.
mm-hmm.
That you go one time, you're like, no, we're not coming here. We're not doing this. So I got sent to an apartment complex. I guess some people, I don't know, temporary housing projects. There's a lot of different terms that people use for the government funded apartments. So I knew the area. I didn't know those apartments, so I was actually training a guy. So we got sent, and as we pulled in these apartments, these were the government funded apartments where you see just like a lot of people in the parking lots. You could just tell dangerous people there, unsavory kind of dangerous people. And I happened to have a cop outfit on, and so I think the guy I was training had a cowboy outfit on. So I actually took my gun and put it in my briefcase. So we got out of my truck, and then I always queued up my briefcase and everything, make sure everything was fine. So then we locked the truck. We started walking maybe 20 feet. We had to walk one particular sidewalk up to the building, and there's about 4 or 5 guys out there. And when we got over to the sidewalk, all 4 of them got up and came and stood in between, like in front of us where we couldn't walk by, and they said, "Hey, what do you need here?" I was like, just because I had a police outfit on.
Yeah.
So they were basically walking up to a guy that they thought was a police officer and asking him, "Hey, what do you need here?" And I was like, "Man, I'm just here for a party." I said, "These girls ordered a stripper, and we're the strippers." And they're like, "Oh, yeah, man, we know who it is. Come on, follow us. We'll take you over there." I was like, so, I don't know if, like, I guess nervous is a good word, but maybe just wanting to do my job good and then get finished with the job and get out of that area. I was apprehensive about doing what we do in that area. I felt that was one of the only stripagrams I've ever felt that like we could be in danger.
Yeah,
So
no, I understand.
I'm sure everybody, if you've done a bunch of them, I'm sure everybody's kind of done one like that. You know what I mean? But for sure, and can you imagine with my experience how bad it was by the time I feel like that? So
Yeah.
that one sticks out big time. There's another one that had a little problem, but I was actually downstairs and one of my girls was upstairs. It was down in the West End, and it's just a club. It was open a long time ago, and they had a really nice patio on the top where they had a bar up there. So one of my girls was dancing for a guy up there, and I was dancing for a group downstairs. I finished mine and went upstairs, and when I got up there, I could see my girl and like a security guard or police officer, fussing, and stuff like that. So I went over there, but a guy who wasn't even with the party that my girl was dancing for, my girl from the company, he had walked by and popped her bra strap and broke her bra.
Oh, wow.
So she was hot. And she was just one country girl from the country, No, just because you're dancing out there doesn't mean people can violate you or take liberties from you. And she wasn't having it, man. So, security came up there and they kicked it. First, they handcuffed that guy. And then, she was wanting to call the police, and I had to talk her out of it. So I said, baby, nothing can happen. I mean, if they take him to jail, I said, you're going to have to go to a court case. And I said, it's going to be all kinds of mess. I said, you really don't want to be involved with that. Kind of talked her down a little bit for being so upset. Told her
Yeah.
I'd buy her, I would take, as the owner of the company, I felt obligated to buy her a new outfit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
That's
but
crazy.
like I was saying, it's the ones that you and I went and did together. I mean, it's such a happy business, 97% of the time, everybody's excited because it's their birthday, it's their going away party, it's graduation, it's a bachelorette party. I mean, just, 9 times out of 10, um, it's such a fun event, such a fun time. Uh, about 4.5 years ago, I sent from LeBaire like 5 guys. I think Lance went. I think Caden went um, to a Luke Bryan concert. Did you go to that one?
No, I was around for that, but I did not go.
Where the guys came up on stage and did the cowboy routine, and then he started his concert.
Yeah, that was
And
crazy.
that
That was insane.
doesn't get any better than that. Another one, Phil Collins, the singer.
Mm-hmm.
They ordered me, and it was back when it was still Reunion Arena. So they had me come down about an hour and a half before his show. There's probably about 10,000 people in there already, and he had a lady who made his costumes and clothes, and they were friends since elementary school. So they've been friends 37 years. So it was her birthday. So they put her in a chair on the real stage where he sang, and they played my music through the sound system of the whole place where he'd sing. And they brought me up like it was a catwalk, and then the stage expanded into like a larger circle.
Mm-hmm.
In the middle of the stage, there was a circle that would disappear under the stage, and you could get on it, and it would bring you back up. So they put her in a chair up on that stage, and they'd have me under the stage. And so they started my music, and then they pulled me up on stage. That was probably like, one of the most notoriety ones that you could who gets Phil Collins, his people, to
Yeah,
order
that's
to do
crazy.
Stripagram basically for his best friend, a girl who had been they'd been friends since elementary school, and she'd made all his clothes All his costumes for singing, all his clothes for his entire middle life.
The first Stripagram story that comes to mind, I was booked as a cop, so I go out to I put my usual cop outfit on. Everything seemed pretty normal. Turned up, and it was happened to be a garden party for probably 40 to 50 um, between girls and family members of this girl's birthday. So I do the routine, pretty standard routine, maybe 30, 35 minutes. She then decides she wants to dance on me. So I got the girl dancing on me just to engage the crowd. The crowd's loving it. And then at which point she says, "Hey, let's go jump in the swimming pool." So, I'm pretty much done with the act, and I'm already in my fullback. So I think, well, yeah, let's go ahead and jump in the swimming pool. It could be fun, just take a little dip before I go back to work. But I didn't know at the time that the girl's boyfriend was sat in the crowd. So he had seen me, first of all, dancing on his girlfriend, and then her dancing on me. So, be it a Mexican party, they had various different taco stands, and there was a guy, there was queso and whatnot, but I stayed far away from all the hot salsa and things like that. The boyfriend and a couple of his friends thought it was funny that whilst I was in the pool with his girlfriend, they went ahead and rubbed all the hot sauce from the taco all on the inside lining of my pants. So I get out the pool, say my goodbyes, quickly put my pants on because I want to get back to my truck as quickly as I can and just get out of there. I sit in my truck and realize that everything's burning. I got my legs burning, I got everything around my fullback burning. So then I kind of put my hand in my pants, and then I see it. I see all the salsa. So I then whip my pants off. So I'm sat completely naked because I take my fullback off because I got all this hot sauce all over my fullback. So I decide to tie a t-shirt around me. So I take my cop shirt off, so I'm shirtless, just with a t-shirt tied around me, driving back to the club. And then, unfortunately, just as I get before Northwest Highway, I realized that I needed gas, and I had about 6 miles till empty. So I then have to stop at a Shell station. Luckily, they had pay at pump. I get out of the driver's side door with just a cop shirt tied around my waist because I'm not wearing any clothes and I'm shirtless. So I quickly throw in $5 worth of gas and then jump straight back in my truck, head to work. And I had to walk into the locker room completely naked with a cop shirt tied around my midsection to cover everything. So I jumped straight in the shower as soon as I got to work, washed off all the salsa, and I was just a little red for the rest of the evening. But that was by far the worst experience I've had. The most awkward experience was a Texas Tech graduation. It was, first of all, the father had booked me for his daughter. So, nothing too crazy about that. I show up, and it was just, I mean, there was at least 150 to 200 people there. And they had a microphone system for me to speak on so everybody could hear. So that was the first red flag. The second one is when I asked them about the music. I asked the father about the music, and he said, no, it's fine. We've taken care of the music. You just come in and do your thing. So, I do the skit, at which point I give him the thumbs up for the music, and a mariachi band comes out of the living room and begins to play. So I am left trying to dance on his daughter to a mariachi band, which is damn near impossible. And to make everything worse, his daughter, lovely girl, but she was a paraplegic, so she was actually in a wheelchair. But she insisted that she, do her best to stand up out of the wheelchair and kind of try and dance with me. But where we were stood, we were on a slight incline, so there was a little hill. So as she stood up out of the wheelchair, she then tumbled down this small hill.
Oh no!
And she landed propped up against kind of a tree. So her father runs over. I'm bright red, and she's shouting at everyone. Leave me alone, leave me alone. I can do this on my own. I can get up on my own. So I just kind of take a step back. I got all the family looking at me. No one knows what the hell's going on. So eventually her father comes over to her and does lift her back up. He then kind of walks her or carries her almost back to where we were in the chair. And then I continue with the skit because I've not even begun. And just trying to rescue that situation in front of 200 of her closest friends and family was just an absolute nightmare. So I managed to call up a couple of her friends who were, they were laughing about she was laughing about the whole thing, but her friends were just in hysterics about what was going on. So luckily they came up and they helped me out with the skit, and we kind of got 3 people involved. And I did stay with them afterwards for a little bit to have a drink because I felt so awful about what had happened. And then I managed to get my cowboy outfit and sneak out the side door very quickly after saying my goodbyes to a couple of the girl, her father, and a couple of her friends. So that was definitely the most awkward. The most painful was the cop routine and the salsa, but yeah, most awkward was watching this poor girl kind of tumble down this little hill, and there's nothing I could do about it.
Well, let's see. I'd say out of every 100 stripagrams, 30 of them are a complete train wreck. So I'll try to remember a few of them. Usually they go bad real fast whenever the person ordering the stripagram comes up with their own scenario in their head of what they think would be really funny, and it really doesn't make any sense to anyone except them. So probably if you're going to get a stripagram, I would say go with, something tried and true like the cop. Cop works good every time. Everybody has fun. Everybody in the party gets it. But sometimes they'll be like, hey, I want you to show up. Say you're a baker and you're making cupcakes down the road and your car broke down or some crazy scenario like that. And it just never works out. But let's see. A few times, like just different places that people ask for these stripagrams that you really wouldn't expect. Usually it's like at a hotel or somebody's house or at a bar, but sometimes during those daytime shows they're like, hey, this one is going to be at a Waffle House at 11:30, and we want you to deliver like the early bird special to some 80-year-old lady and say it's her birthday and jump on the table and start dancing. And I've done shows like that, and they're awkward for everybody, and just it's not a good time as they would think it's going to be. But oh well, you got to do what you got to do. But
yeah, it sounds good in their head, but in practical application, it just doesn't come out that way.
Yeah, they get it, but nobody else in the restaurant gets it, and nobody really wants to see a guy make it on a table when they're trying to eat breakfast. But that's just part of it. Other than that, like just different scenarios where even if the stripagram was a cop or was going right, I don't know, it's just some things just go wrong, and no matter what you do, that it's never gonna, be effective as like some of the really good shows. Like one time I had to do a stripagram, and they were like, yeah, you come up. It's at a dog kennel, where she doesn't know you're gonna be there, and I ended up stripping outside in the middle of a dog kennel with like 100 stray dogs barking at me. The lady has no idea what's going on. Just a random dude in broad daylight outside shows up with a little speaker system that you can barely hear and starts taking his clothes off and dancing. So sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy though. I can't, man. Like I've heard that, but still.
Yeah. What about you? What's the crazy one you've done?
Shoot, man, I did one at man, I keep forgetting the acronym for it, but it's this veterans bar or something like that. Veterans of the Korean War.
Oh, VFW?
Yeah, there you go, VFW. Man,
yeah.
So I walk in that place, and dude, there's got to be 300 people, man. And they just want me. They stop all the music. They pull the 145-year-old lady up to the middle. So I put down 3 chairs, and I tell the guy, hey, I'm going to do a skit, and then you can start playing my music when I give you the signal, right? I guess he didn't hear me or just decided to mess with me or what. But literally as soon as they like, all right, let's give it up for the stripper or whatnot, he starts playing my music. So, instead of sitting there, like, just stopping, like, hey, I got to do a skit and this and that, I just went with it. Yeah. And I mean, it was one of the quickest stripagrams I ever did, but like trying to entertain and dance for, 300 people in general, and then about 150 women is just absolutely insane. But it was a lot of fun. They had a great time. So, I mean, I'll take it for what it's worth,
Yeah, anytime you have to count on somebody to do anything, like turning the music on, that it never goes as expected. They don't know when to turn it on, or you're like, hit the music, and then they're not paying attention. You're like, hey, can you turn the music on? It just ruins it.
Yeah.
So it's always better whenever we bring our own sound system. The only problem is our sound systems aren't very big, and they're not very loud. So if you show up to a VFW where there's 100 people, then, nobody can hear the music. So it's like the catch-22.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. Especially anytime it's outside, because our speakers just never carry as good outside as they would in a building or whatnot. What was do you ever have a stripagram where you felt like, man, you really wish you didn't stroll into that neighborhood or that household or something like that?
Oh man, yeah, I've done some really bad neighborhoods. I did. God, there's so many of them. One time I showed up, it was back when I started, they didn't have the GPS on the smartphone, so you just had to, make a right turn here, make a left turn here. Most of the time it was all wrong, and you're lost way out in the middle of nowhere. And I drove, I don't know, even remember where it was, but it was way, way out in the middle of nowhere, like down some dirt roads. I was like, God, what, is my directions wrong, or is this even the right place, or is this like a scam? I'm going to get out in the middle of nowhere. And I get to the end of this really long dirt road, and there's a huge field of bikers. It's a big biker gang party. And they got me dressed as a doctor anyway, so I look like a nerd with the little, glasses and stethoscope and stuff. But it's a huge field with a bonfire. Yeah, I know. And I was like, oh God, I'm gonna get shanked in here dancing on some biker's, wife or whatever. There's hundreds of them out there, just an open field. And but it turned out to be a really good stripagram. They were real cool with it, They were like, yeah, grab big. So I was real nervous, but made it out all right. And you don't judge a book guy by its cover, because when I pulled up, I was like, oh, this is gonna be a nightmare. But it turned out to be a really fun show. So you never know.
Yeah. Oh,
but it's funny you said that about the VFW. My first stripagram was at a VFW.
Oh, really?
And it was from some 80-year-old lady's birthday party.
Yeah,
I was like, it's always old people from VFW. It's like an 80-year-old, but does an 80-year-old really want to strip? I don't know. Maybe not, but maybe. But this was another one that they were like, okay, so, and I'm 18. I've never even done a stripagram. I don't know what, I have no idea what I'm doing. And they said they wanted the risky business thing where I slide out, in my underwear and a shirt, to that one song that they played on the jukebox. Old Time Rock and Roll or something like that. It was all right, but I think it was only all right because I was so clueless of what all right wasn't and what it was. So that was my first one. It's been downhill ever since.
No, I wouldn't know about. I wouldn't say downhill. Like, I mean, you kind of. It's one of those things you kind of. You learn how to manipulate or navigate certain issues.
Yeah. After so many of them, after you do so many of them, you can pretty much control what's doing.
Yeah, and it ends up being less of like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening, and more like, oh, okay,
right,
one of these parties.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but usually, like, if you say they get the cop, we're so good at those cop skits that you can make any party seem pretty good. Even if they're wanting it, they're not wanting it, they're into it, they're not. Just the dialogue from that skit alone, it makes everybody comfortable. It's kind of funny. It's not like a guy just runs in and starts taking his clothes off. It's not off-putting. So.
Oh yeah, you definitely need that buffer to make people feel comfortable, for sure.
Yeah. But sometimes they think you're a real cop and they just take off.
Yeah, I've had bachelorettes lock themselves in the bathroom or run to the kitchen when I show up.
Oh,
I'm not really sure if it's because they did something illegal or they're just nervous because they know what's going down. But
right.
The what's one of the, I guess, train wreck stories that you've had where you just felt like, geez, this stripagram is just absolutely horrible for one reason or another? It doesn't necessarily have to be something that you're doing.
Man, sometimes when there's a lot of guys there, it gets a little awkward. One time, one of my first stripagrams, like, I've always wanted really cool hair, but I've never really had, like, really cool hair. Some people just have, like, just look good. And So I was going through a phase where I was going to try to grow it out long and maybe put some like blonde highlights in it or something like that. And it was in that phase where it's not short and it's not long. It just looks terrible. And I went and got some highlights. And my hair's so dark that it didn't turn it blonde. It turned it orange, like a bright orange.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, damn, so the only way it would look halfway good is if I sprayed a bunch of water on it, and then it would look good for a little while. So I figured, I got 20, 30 minutes. I'll spray it with water and, I'll make it through this show. And then I got there and the Bachelorette wasn't there yet. Nobody was ready. So I was like, fuck, man, I'm on like a time limit here, before my hair just gets out of control. And about when I started dancing, and that's when it just made like this big orange afro. And I was dancing around, and they wanted to take a ton of pictures. And every picture that they took, I looked at it. I was like, oh, my God, I can't believe it.
Oh, that's horrible.
Everywhere. Yeah, big orange afro. Yeah.
Man, I feel for your brother.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where it's so humiliating, but, like a year later, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, exactly. You just kind of got to laugh at it.
Yeah. Chad, my roommate, whenever he was dancing, a guy, he went to like a Hispanic party, and, the guy got kind of heated about it, chased him off with a knife. He had to jump the fence in his G-string, the fullback or whatever, and run down the street and knocking on doors trying to get somebody to call the cops. And, when people are, all they see is just a dude running around in his underwear or less than his underwear, asking them to use the phone. So that had to be. But he finally got the cops and they took him back to the party, got all this stuff. But it could get real dangerous.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Definitely with testosterone and alcohol running rampant, you definitely have to be careful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sure.
What was one of your favorite stripagrams?
Man, let's see. It would have to be one. I like doing stripagrams whenever I get to take somebody with me because it's more fun, it's more comfortable, and you can kind of joke around with your buddy while you're there. But I can't think. I mean, there's been so many that was just a blast,
Mm-hmm.
and they tip good. Everybody has fun. So there's so many of them. I don't know if I could narrow it down to a favorite, but probably just whenever it's like, a big party, the music goes over good, the skit goes over well, they're super happy that, that they had you. They come back to the club, spend money there. And then whenever they come back to the club, it helps out a lot too, because there's a big party, that they like you already. They'll probably come down to your stage, and then that helps you the rest of the night. So probably a scenario like that. Those are always good ones.
Hey guys, it's Bryce, and I'm going to talk to you guys about my stripagram story. So my story is going to be my awkward story. It's going to be about my very first stripagram that I ever did. Very affluent neighborhood. Wouldn't you think, most stripagrams would be later in the day, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, typical times that we do our private parties. Well, this time I was summoned for my very first stripagram on a Wednesday at noon, which is very unheard of. So I go into this very nice neighborhood, and I'm told, be careful. The bride is a virgin, and she's never been touched by anybody other than her husband. And I said, okay, cool. I'll make it a good experience for her. Make sure that I don't put her in any awkward situations. Well, I walk into what seems to me is like a formal tea party. A whole bunch of women. They're all seated on the carpet with a big long table all across the room. Everyone is sitting in their chair, and of course I summon the bride, go into the skit. And once the skit was over, I kind of did what I'm supposed to do, and I walk around the room and I try to get people involved and dance and, for everyone to have a good time. And unfortunately, everyone just kind of looked at me like I was crazy. They were terrified of me. They didn't want any direct contact with me. And, us being entertainers, we expect to, go into a place and be able to entertain the way that we would entertain at a club. And it was pretty difficult for me, dancing for air, for about 30 minutes. But, I did the best that I could and, made sure the bride was happy. And giving her a lap dance, let me tell you, it was like she definitely was a virgin. Let's just put it that way. But, good experience for me, getting my feet wet, having my first stripagram, and it definitely set me up for, everything that I have coming in the future or any other private parties that I've ever been to, because every private party that I've been to since has been a lot more receptive to my entertainment. So that's my awkward stripagram story. Thank you guys for listening.
So Nathan and I actually had the opportunity of going on a stripagram together, and it was so good that we just had to record it right away.
It was indeed.
For you all, the audience, because we just finished it. We on our way back to the club. It is Friday night, and so I'll set the stage for it. So we got contact from our office lady saying, hey guys, you got double booked for a stripagram tonight. Both Nathan and Cesar, they want you 2 cops, 9 o'clock tonight. We both said sure, all right. Coordinated time to get to the club, got to the club, got dressed, checked it out. We looked at the name. We were trying to figure out. You always kind of guess, because I won't say her name out here because I don't know, it's her privacy and stuff like that. But we figured it's Asian, and so okay, like Asian parties are, not gonna lie, they're interesting to say the least. Asians know how to throw down. They party like no other, both in the club, in their homes, and all that stuff. So Nathan and I started to kind of war game a little bit how we were going to do it when we got there and stuff, just because Nathan's still up and coming, learning stripagrams. He's done a couple with other guys.
Yep.
So, he was like, all right, cool, we'll share notes, compare notes and whatnot, and kind of become both better strippers that way and stuff like that. So, it's great. We went through all the typical, these are the bad things that can happen, these are good things that are going to happen, what about this, what about that? So we get there, and right off the bat, we see a, what are those? Passion parties.
Yes.
Passion party logos on the back of one of the cars at the house. So I'm already like, man, we're going to get there, and there's going to be a bunch of toys laying around. These girls are going to be, like, trying to run their credit cards in the middle of all this. Like, oh, man. So, whatever, but hey, such is life. We're professionals. We're going to do this. So we get out. We start getting ready. We call. No answer. Nathan's like, what are we going to do? I'm like, let's just go up to the door and knock. So, Nathan, go ahead and start us off with the door knock, man.
So, first of all, we give one of the loudest knocks that I think you could possibly do. Almost the neighbors would come out and answer their own door. And still, no answer. We heard a couple of screams, so we assumed that they heard us, and they were kind of getting all excited that we'd shown up. But a couple of minutes goes by, no one shows up to the door. We go ahead and ring the doorbell. Again, screams, but nothing, no movement. Finally, probably 5 minutes standing at the door, one more loud knock, and we get greeted in by, yep, you guessed it, a little Vietnamese girl decided to invite us in with her and possibly 12 or 14 friends. You've got, the first sight we're greeted with is the birthday girl, who is wearing a very see-through dress and no underwear. So, it's a cold night. You can imagine what was staring us in the face, first of all.
Well put. Let me break this down for you, though. It was not only a see-through dress. Imagine those sequence things, I don't know what they're called, but when Rihanna came out with her fashion line where everything had those little fake spikes on it, imagine chrome versions of that all over her dress and her shoes and her headband. Like, she was dressed to a T. And then, everything in between was see-through mesh. So, yeah.
So we're trying to get the attention of everybody. Everyone's just screaming and laughing and shouting. So
already taking pictures with us.
Already taking pictures. So we've stood around for 5 or 10 minutes taking pictures with everybody. We finally start to, do the police skit in which we bend her over and we search her a few times, and we get involved in the dance. We sit her down, tell her we got to take her downtown. So I go ahead and throw 2 friends next to her to help us out. So I'm searching a couple of the friends. And then, of course, we hit Pony, the stripper's anthem. We hit Pony, begin to dance on the girls.
Well, hold on. Let me interject a little bit. So, we try to do the skit like you all that have heard on this show before to kind of set the mood and get everyone kind of used to us. But what ended up happening is they just were so rowdy that they really couldn't care for it. Like, no momentum was building. So finally, I just kind of look at Nathan. Nathan looks at me. We know what's going on. So we're like, yeah, we'll just go ahead and end it here. So like, yeah, that's great. Oh, she's in trouble. She's going downtown.
Let's get naked.
Yeah. The two ladies that we had to quote unquote help us were helping us too much, and we're practically stealing the show.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just kind of we made a impromptu command decision and just skipped to the dancing, and yeah, and pretty much they kind of ran the show for us. I feel like we had 3 or 4 girls that were trying to take care of their birthday girl by like giving us directions, like, okay, you do this and you do that, and she's gonna do this, and so like we kind of really didn't. But then we had the one drunk girl that was like seemed high, where I don't think she opened her eyes the entire time we were there.
Nope. So
the one with like the low V-neck. Remember?
Yeah. She almost.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about like a snake, an anaconda of whipped cream, and like I gotta give them credit, they missed your underwear.
They did, and I think it took 6 girls first of all to eat about half the amount of whipped cream that was on me, and I think they were just getting too sickly with it, so they decided to wipe the rest of the whipped cream off.
Oh God, no! But hold on, it's actually worse. So, yes, 6 different girls tried it, and they were slowly creeping up, but it wasn't like a smooth process, like they were a line. It was literally like the first 2 kind of hit it, and then there was like a gag reflex, and she didn't know if she wanted to finish or not, and then no one else was sure if they wanted to go, so he's just laying here like begging people, like having that look of like, is someone, and I'm like, hey, he still has whipped cream, like any lady, like what's up? I mean, if we got diabetic, I understand, but if not, let's kind of make this happen.
Because I'm still covered, so I'm trying to pull girls over because I can't move off the couch because I don't want to ruin the rug. I have this cream fly everywhere. So eventually one of the older ladies comes over and wipes the cream off me and allows me to stand up for a second. And then I noticed the little buffet that they have around the corner, so I kind of gave Cesar that eye and said, I asked the birthday girl if she minded us sampling the buffet, and she said it was fine, so we took a break in the music for a second.
Oh, so that was your idea?
Yeah.
I had no idea. I was wondering why they were like, hey, come have food. I was like, no, we're good.
No, because I noticed the lobster around the corner. Yeah. But so we got a little break, and then, whilst we're stuffing our faces, one of the sober girls comes over and asks us if we're going to continue to dance after we eat. And, we're eating, and we said, of course, just let me finish my plate, and I'll be back over there.
So they had such a good time that they actually purchased an extra hour on the Stripagram. They negotiated there at the spot and stuff, and we do that for an extra fee. We stay longer, and they ended up doing that. So that's why we had the time to take a break. And honestly, the time flew by. Like, there was a little bit of us and a whole lot of them kind of directing it. They just wanted the bodies, and they were having an absolute blast. I ended up having a conversation with the birthday girl while her friends were trying to get me to dance on her. And so the food thing is absolutely hilarious, because we're sitting there and these girls are literally like taking turns slapping food on top of the plate.
Yeah, as we're eating. Yeah. So we're eating, and the plate's just not going down because every mouthful gets replaced with 2 mouthfuls. So, I'm just keep being fed this food and fed. So eventually I managed to finish this plate, set it down, kind of wipe my face, and then get back to dancing for 10 minutes or so.
Yeah. Mind you, so a little caveat to this, while we were eating, like, of course, we're both self-aware because that's just the way it is, right? So I'm looking around, and I kind of elbow Nathan, and I look at him, and I'm like, hey, bro, we're the only ones eating. He's like, I know. They're just sitting there having a good old time, feeding us, watching us, and we're the only 2 freaking Neanderthals sitting there scarfing our faces.
Sitting around watching us eat pork curry.
Yeah.
But yeah, we continued to dance then afterwards for 10 minutes, and we did some very interesting photos, which, I mean, at one point I think I was laid down with 6 different girls in various different positions, bending me in all sorts of ways.
It looked like a WWE wrestling match, honestly. I had to keep checking in, like, where's Nathan's face? Okay, there he is, he's good.
Oh, man. Oh. But the beauty of it is, as we began to wrap it up, we took some pictures. The birthday girl insisted on us taking some to-go boxes, which, we're expecting. We'll take a plate each, maybe put some plastic wrap over the top of it. But sitting here in the car now between my legs, I feel like I've probably got about 15 whole lobsters in between my lap. I might have about 5 pounds of pork curry, and then probably a whole side of beef. In carrier bags.
So, and mind you, this was the birthday girl trying to do this because she really wanted to take care of us, and it's great. Like, these are the nights that the job is really rewarding. But Nathan, being the guy that he is, I'm like, all right, thanks, we're good. Trying not to like say anything else because it's like, oh man, I'm thirsty. Like, here, take a gallon of water. Do you want this wine? Do you want this? And Nathan's like, hey, I think Cesar likes the beef. and she keeps trying to stuff all this, it's literally, she's talking to us and she just keeps scooping up more and more pork curry with chopsticks. So it's a mission, and Nathan's like, hey, so how about that beef? Oh yeah, that's great, a little bit more laughter. So I think Cesar really likes the beef. So she's like constantly like, oh yeah, the beef. At the end of the day, he ends up throwing the beef on there. She wants to go get like a third container. We're like, no, we'll just slap it on top of the lobster. So, oh man, we end up walking, like you said, I'm talking about big. These are not these are the containers that you put like a whole turkey or chicken in, filled with food. Another girl's giving us like beers and like iced teas and stuff like that.
And they even thought about it and put some forks. They put plastic knives and forks and napkins in the bag, as if we're just going to open these 2 giant containers and eat 10 pounds of food each.
Yeah, and they're like, all right, well, you guys are going to eat before you go back to work. We're like, sweetie, that's not happening right now.
We told her that we're just going to share it when we get back to the club.
Yeah, oh man, but needless to say, it was absolutely great. At the end, of course, we were putting our clothes back on. We tell them about the club, or attempt to try to give them tickets because they're super excited. That was one of the things we said. Hey, look, we can't eat that much. We can't take a bunch of shots or whipped cream because we've got to watch our diet. We have a competition next week. They're super stoked, and they asked us like 4 times about the competition. And then when I tried to give them tickets to the strip off, they really couldn't have cared less.
They did not care. But then as we're leaving, they realized that we've only given them 5 tickets. So then they're asking for more tickets just as we're about to walk out the door. Yeah. So luckily we got some more tickets to give them, and telling us they might come in tonight if they can sober up a little bit and drive to the club.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it is what it is. We walked out, and they were super sweet. Even the passion party lady kind of stayed. She didn't participate, and I feel like she mean-mugged us a couple times. Cause
I danced on it.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay, perfect. Oh, sweet. The one time I tried to, she was not having it, so good. All right, at least she got her full, too.
There's a dance on it.
Yeah, Nathan definitely took, playing ultimate wingman on that, because there were a couple of times where... the birthday girl just like long hair, so she had me put my hair down, and she monopolized my time, which, hey, it's cool, it's your party, like, why not? And Nathan was being a great wingman and taking care of the other 10 women like a champion. Every once in a while I'll pull a girl off, I tried to help you out every once in a while, but yeah, it ended up being great. It was a great time. You didn't catch this, but the birthday girl wanted me to teach her like how to like lap dance for a man. Like, I was just like, I'll just help you move your hips and we'll call it a day. Like,
I don't think I've ever danced on a man before, so
yeah. I was like, I'll show you how women dance, and we can take it from there. But yeah, it was a great stripagram. Obviously, we had a couple laughs about it. We're headed back to the club now on Friday night, and hopefully keep partying it up. And yeah, they tipped, which was great too. We showed up and they had fans of money. I was like, this is what's up. So yeah, great stripagram, man. Appreciate you coming on it with it. Or, you kind of had to, but it's a lot of fun.
It was a whole lot of fun.
So yeah. Right on. Well, hope you all enjoyed this and enjoy the rest of the stripagram stories in this podcast. All right. So we are back, and we are going to go into the worst and best events of the week, because obviously we can't end the show without it. So my worst event of the week is actually kind of standard, really. So it was a slower night, and we ended up having a couple parties come in. And sometimes guys typically like to walk out or do their solo man acts just because the crowd isn't huge and stuff like that. And occasionally they tip, occasionally they don't. So I try to take it upon myself to make sure these ladies have a really good time and see what we're capable of so they come back. So we had 2 parties, one of like 5 and one of about 12. And we have a couple entertainers, so I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and do one of the productions. So I go through the trouble of calling guys that might have stepped out to grab a bite to eat real quick, walk around the club, collecting everyone up to gather all the guys to do one of our larger production acts, right? I let Kate and the DJ know, hey, this is what's going to go on. Can you grab one of the girls from the party, this and that? So in this process, nights are a little bit slower. We stretch the sets out just a little bit because we're not heavy on guys. We're actually a little light right now. And so everything gets set up. I get everything prepped. I let Pablo know I'm going to do fire, like the whole shebang, right? Come to find out, I hear Kaden trying to convince one of the girls to stay. They end up leaving, and by the time we start the routine and I'm walking out on stage, the other party is leaving, as like 2 of them are signing their bills and the rest are walking out the door. So needless to say, I threw on my big shebang and everything I could do. We all just sat there on stage laughing because, I mean, literally the parties that we were doing it for just walked out. And believe it or not, that's actually more common for me than you think. And I'm not sure why. Maybe I just take note of it. But literally, I will want to say at least 40% of the time that happens, where I end up trying to do a better show for a group of people and they end up leaving either right before or during the show. It's kind of humorous. I'm not really sure why. I'm not even sure why we can't even keep them in the door with, 8 guys on stage performing something, but such is life. So yeah, it was my least favorite event of the week. My favorite event of the week actually is that a while back, a really good friend of mine gave me these LED poi that are programmable. And she gave them to me because occasionally a lot of venues that would like to hire me for entertainment and stuff like that don't allow fire. So my fire poi isn't able to kind of make a debut, so to speak, in those venues. But standard LED poi, I feel like, is a little too raverish and doesn't really bring up the crowd as much as I would like. So she found these LED poi, once again, which are programmable. So you can put in patterns, you can put in words, you can put in all kinds of cool things. And I've done them in my club several times, but it's really hard to gauge the reaction because we have the women so hyped already and they're drunk and et cetera, et cetera. So I ended up having a show and I decided the same thing. They were like, hey, we can't do fire, but they had kind of an electric theme. So I really wanted to do my LED poi and they were okay with that. So I ended up doing it, and I picked a song where I kind of just swung them down and tutted with them a little bit. Nothing crazy. And had them programmed so it was all white. And then as soon as the beat dropped, all the patterns started to come out and I started to actually spin them. And it was really neat because the crowd just lost their minds. They were absolutely blown away. The owner loved the fact that I had the club name and the event name on the, at some point during the programming and show and stuff like that. So it was great. It just felt good to realize that such a great gift that someone gave me ended up paying off so well and improving my show so much. So that definitely made me feel really good about it. So yeah, that is everything. I hope you all enjoyed the show. Once again, leave your comments and feedback in the comment section of this YouTube or SoundCloud or iTunes section. Definitely rate us, share us, subscribe. It really makes a big difference. It lets me know that, hey, there's people out here listening. So thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, keep bringing the rain.
I am focused, I'm in my zone. You can binge watch like Game of Thrones. Reserve your judgments, don't throw no stones. Who's and I scream as loud as you don't. Airplane mode on tablets and phones. Caesar's crowd pleasers is now on. Cesar, the crowd pleaser. If you need to pick me up, ladies, we gon' change your demeanor. Cesar, the crowd pleaser. We gon' do a little dance, we gon' make the naysayers believe us.